There we go. I know how to do it. So we got all kinds of craziness going on here. OBS has been a bitch. Come on, sucker. Why do you not do the thing there? My hell. This is Tehran being blasted right now. This is terrifying. Yeah. Who thinks that the U.S. is going to be going to war soon? I do. I do. It's terrifying. Just saying. Really not super stoked on the idea. Just saying. Just saying. Not super jazzed. Don't really want to go to war. Look at all these. This is war. This is what war looks like right here, right? You know, freaking rockets coming up over your head. You know, what keeps me up at night? Yeah, shit like this. Rockets fall on your head. EMPs. That's terrifying, huh? What if, does everyone forgot about Ukraine? Ukraine's still a thing, right? Or are we just, are we not forgetting? Are we just forgetting about that? We're not doing that. Holy crap. Whoa, everything's freaking out. There we go. Yeah, the world's going straight to hell in a handbasket, it looks like to me. What else is going on here on YouTube? There's got to be some more live news going on here, right? Yeah, what's Trump saying? That's what I want to know. Tel Aviv burns, Iran fires 100+ missiles into fresh salvo. Israeli, yeah, it's all just fantastic news everywhere you look. Yeah, we need something more provocative than this. It's just, this is all bad news. Yeah, bad news, of course, but ICE strikes, sanctuary cities face major enforcement.
Targeted enforcements by Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE continue to sweep across the United States, leading to the arrests of hundreds of undocumented individuals, including gang members and those charged with violent crimes such as burglary. ICE's mission has faced resistance, with protesters often clashing with agents to obstruct their operations. Despite the opposition, ICE remains resolute in its goal to remove dangerous individuals from American streets.
That's good. I mean, low estimates are 12 million people, 12 million illegals across the border. Seriously, I figure if they knew they were coming here illegally, we should hold them to that, you know? If they knew they were coming here illegally at the time and knew that they could be subject to deportation, they should be, you know, they're gone. Yeah, I can't expect to go to any other nation and expect them to just be, to let me stay there forever. You're not going to sneak in somewhere and then go be a jerk about it too, especially. But you're not going to be able to just stay there forever. It's not a thing.
Emphasizing that sanctuary city policies will not shield them. A notable case involves a 24-year-old Venezuelan man who, pretending to be a 16-year-old, attended high school and played on varsity sports teams for over a year.
Wait, what? What? An illegal alien that snuck into the net from where? From Venezuela? And he attended high school?
This highlights the lengths some individuals go to avoid detection and the challenges ICE faces in identifying and apprehending such individuals.
Holy crap. I wonder what his grade point average was.
Scores the importance of their targeted efforts. Sanctuary cities, historically considered safe havens for undocumented individuals, are now under heightened scrutiny. Recent operations in progressive areas, including Los Angeles, have seen federal agents working alongside SWAT teams to apprehend dangerous fugitives.
And though the protesters claim this is about no kings, it's about...
Yeah, just remember, the protest, there's no violent protest anywhere anyways. There wasn't any. It was just Donald Trump being a jerk.
Due process. What they really want to do is overturn the entire system, democracy, capitalism. They want to burn it all down. Here is Army Horowitz undercover in a keffiyeh, and he gets the protesters to say the quiet bit out loud.
But is it more about due process or more about overturning the system?
Overturning the system.
For sure.
Yeah, I think we have to overturn the system.
Overturn this whole,
The whole
American system.
The whole system needs to go down.
Do we want to replace it with what?
I don't.
Do we need?
That's the thing. That's the thing.
This might turn into something else. Those 13, how many countries are being banned from traveling?
Yeah.
They might have something as well beyond this too.
I mean, maybe we go
might
the
spark
Haiti
something.
system, or
it might spark
Yemen or Afghanistan. That might work better.
Exactly. Yeah. Where you just pay the warlord.
Do you condemn the violence?
Never.
Do I condemn violence?
Yeah.
I don't condemn people for fighting what they believe is right.
In order to get your point across, sometimes there has to be violence.
Remember that. Remember that when ICE kicks your door down. There's a point to be made here.
Do you really condemn the violence, or do you understand it?
I'm sure there's a point somewhere to be made in that.
I would stand up against the bully. If somebody's gonna need violence.
So we need violence.
Because we're going to continue to bite the hand that you think the fuck feeds us.
This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning of what's yet to come.
Can you condemn the violence, or do you understand it?
I understand.
I understand it.
We need to break shit down before we can rebuild.
Burn it.
They're not willing to show their face on camera, though. You know, they're willing to burn shit down, but they ain't willing to pay the consequences or pay the price. And if you're going to protest, that's half of the protest. If you go to peacefully protest and get arrested, that's part of the deal. These guys aren't even part of that. They're like, nah, I just want to break shit.
Burn it down.
Burn it down.
Joining me now is filmmaker and journalist Ami Horowitz. Ami, were you cherry picking there, or was that the majority opinion amongst the protesters you spoke to?
Yeah, so generally the way I work, I lift the kimono a little bit, let you in on the process. Look, when I do a video, what you see is the majority view of who I speak with. Sure, there might be dissenters who think differently, but if they're not the majority voice, the video doesn't go out, or I make the video to reflect that. So generally in my videos, that's the majority voice. This video, Rita, was different. This was every single person. In fact, I had an addendum at the end of the video stating that. I spoke with over 30 people over the course of a number of hours, and not a single person deviated from the views you just heard. You know, I also showed.
Well, that's terrifying. It's almost like social contagion as a thing, and you can totally work people into a lather. A rabble rouser is a thing, and you can totally get people to do basically whatever you want. All you got to do is show them, you know, a specific set of things. Only show them specific sets of things too. Show them no deviation from the narrative.
Shot another segment I didn't put in the video, but I also asked them, are we on stolen land? Or should we give this land we're talking about is California, Arizona?
After we won it in Conquest, we actually paid Mexico $15 million for all of that too. And I think that's almost like 500 million in today's. Yeah, so I mean, after we won them in a war, the Spanish-American War, we marched on Mexico City and said, look, we're going to take this stuff from you now. Just like Conquest from beginning of time until right now has happened. But then we were like, hey, we'll only take this much. You can keep, you know, Mexico, and we'll pay you. We'll even pay you. Look, we'll even pay you for it. Sorry, you know, hey, we're going to be neighbors. Hopefully you guys are going to be cool like Canada, but, you know, it didn't pan out. Hey.
Arizona, New Mexico. Should we give it back to Mexico? They all said yes, or they said give it back to the natives. Look, let's be clear about something. These people are not stupid. I know it's an easy tag to put on people, say, oh, they're just fools, they're useful idiots. No, Rita, they know exactly what they're doing. You know, it always got me upset during the Palestinian pro-Hamas protests when people said, oh, they're just fools, they don't know what they're doing. I'm sorry, you hollowing out the power of their intent by saying that. They know exactly what they were doing then. They were calling for the genocide of the Jewish people, the destruction of the state of Israel. They knew exactly what from the river to the sea meant. They may not have known which river, which sea. That's a geography lesson. It has nothing to do with the reality of how they felt. Same thing with this. They're not stupid. They know exactly what they're doing. The entire time, Rita, there was an undercurrent of violence, right?
I just think they have zero expectation of realization. Seriously, I think all of them They know they're just down there to break shit and speak their mind, whatever. No one's even listening to a fucking word they have to say because all they're doing is breaking shit. And even if there's 10,000 people down there peacefully protesting, if there's 100 over there burning one car, all the cameras are on the car. So police your own. If you don't want your protest to turn into a riot, you, the protester, need to police your own. You kick those bad actors out. You tell them, get out, go home, and you do it in force and in mass. If everyone is totally okay with the violence, then it's not a protest. It's a freaking riot. Come on, people. We all know this. You don't have the right to riot. You have the right to protest. And protest sometimes leads to being arrested. You know that? But rioting definitely will. Definitely will. If you riot, you go around breaking shit, you know, you're just there to hurt other people and to disrupt other people's lives. Peaceful protest, I understand it can be uncomfortable for the people that are around, you know, for the looky-loos and the stand asides, the bystanders. But you don't go down there breaking shit, burning down Waymos and expecting nothing to happen. Straight up. Put yourself in anyone else's shoes. I can't even believe Gavin Newsom. What a piece of crap. What a piece of crap. He's allowing his own state to riot against deporting illegal frickin' immigrants, especially the bad ones, especially the frickin' law breaking and you know, the real nasty sons of bitches. Those suckers need to get the hell out of here anyway. They should have never got here in the first place. It was Joe Biden's stupid ass to let him in. Now we're trying to get him out, and they start rioting, and you expect nothing to happen? Nah, FAFO. FAFO. That's exactly what happened. You know, and they're saying, oh yeah, someone effed around, and the rioters, you know, they showed them what's up. Yeah, not so much. Think about how much restraint was shown. Think about how much restraint the LAPD, the National Guard, and the Marines actually showed. How many vile words, names, I mean, words, sticks and stones, right? But then there's video, tons and tons of video of people throwing bricks and rocks and hitting people in the head and breaking and burning, smash, kill, bad.
The violence broke out night after night in Los Angeles, and you can feel it even in the daytime. If you said the wrong thing or they thought you were the wrong person, they would take you down. I was standing there when somebody said, I love America, and took out an American flag, and they beat him, just like they beat me in the campus at CUNY. When I took out the American flag, the same thing happened here. It's the same. People wearing keffiyehs there. That's on purpose. There's an interconnection. The intersectionality between these people and the pro-Hamas voters. This is where we're at in this country, where they want the destruction
It's the same
of the United
crowd.
States. Rita.
It always
Yes,
is.
no question about it.
It is the same crowd. I mean, they are the same anti-American, anti-Western civilization crowd, whether it's BLM riots, whether it's pro-Hamas, whether it's crazy environmentalists, or in this case, these anti-Trump, anti-ICE. They're the same crowd. And what's worrying there, as you showed in the video, was that they have no issues with violence. Not only do they tolerate violence, they think it is a sound method to achieve their goals.
Absolutely. No question about it.
Yeah, no one even cares what they have to say, because all I even hear or know about now is just bricks getting thrown and some dude getting shot in Salt Lake. Yeah, that's crazy too. Like, that's crazy. There needs to be more known about that, actually. Yeah.
And by the way, and we saw it night after night. Not you know, in LA, all the BLM riots. You know, I was also the Kings protest, the No Kings protest, that in New York, and they did look. What you heard everyone whispering and talking.
We begin with the latest in the shooting at the No Kings protest in Salt Lake City last night. Saturday saw thousands gather in the state to join the national protest. Hours of peaceful demonstrations from St. George all the way to Ogden and cities in between.
Yeah, it's all nasty. That dude right there, I'm not even sure he should have been arrested. I don't even know why they shot at him. I'm not really sure. Yeah. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
We begin with the latest in the shooting at the No peaceful demonstrations from St. George all the way to Ogden and cities in between. In Salt Lake, 10,000 people took to the streets after gathering in Pioneer Park, and just before 8 o'clock, chaos and tragedy as demonstrators and police heard shots ring out near State Street and 200 South. We're learning today that the victim of that shooting has died. Salt Lake City Police says 24-year-old Arturo Gamboa is being charged with murder for the death of 39-year-old Arthur Folasa Alu. ABC4's Kate Gardner has the details.
Police say 2 people working as event security noticed Gamboa hiding behind a wall, fidgeting with an AR.
2 people working as event security, 0 training, 0 responsibility. Who hired them? What event staff are they? Yeah, the event staff is going to be sued into oblivion. I can already tell you that right now, because they didn't want to use police officers. They didn't want to use the police to protect their event and the protest that they were putting on, because it was a No Kings, anti-ICE, anti-police protest. So they used their own dudes who pulled out seen someone carrying a gun. They seen a man with a gun, and he was fussing with said gun. So they pulled out their pistols and shot at him. They killed a man behind the guy with the gun, and shot the guy with the gun. Guy runs off and doesn't fire a shot. Okay, I have questions. Whoever shot him, that guy's not in jail, but the guy that had a gun is. And okay, maybe there is intent. Maybe these guys that aren't cops, that aren't trained, that just shot him, maybe they understood the intent of this person that they had no idea about. But I doubt it. And there's some shady shit going on there. I want to know what's really going on.
15. When they approached him, he raised the gun at them. One of them fired 3 shots, hitting Gamboa and killing a bystander.
Get out of this area!
Chaos. Music stops abruptly just before 8 o'clock, and people flee as 3 shots ring out.
It could have been one of us, it could have been our girls.
Virginia Castillo and Derek Barney were at the protest, the first they've gone to as a family.
And they were banging, trying to get people to open the door. And this girl opened the door, and I yelled at them, come on, and everybody started rushing in.
They took refuge in Este Pizzeria until they knew it was safe to go home.
My youngest, she was scared last night, so she didn't want to sleep in her room, and she ended up sleeping on the couch, and I just pulled the mattress out and slept with her out here, and I was just reassuring her all night.
They almost didn't go, but wanted their girls to learn to stand up for what they believe in.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people were shocked by how big the crowd was, and that's what it should have been about. People from all walks of life going and supporting anybody that's different, Sadly, it's not going to be about that. It's going to be about what happened.
So what happened?
Supporting anyone that's different. I didn't know that's what the No Kings. Anyways, that's her. She can have her position. It's all right. But.
Happened.
Officers and detectives were flagged down near 100 South, 200 East, and there they found a man later identified as 24-year-old Arturo Gamboa. He had a minor gunshot wound and was hiding in a group of people. At the time of his arrest, officers also recovered an AR-15 style rifle, a gas mask, and a backpack. Gamboa was treated and later booked into jail on a charge of murder.
Chief Brian Redd says at that time, officers also detained 2 men who were part of the event's peacekeeping team.
These men saw Gamboa separate from the crowd at one point during the march and move behind a wall, where they noticed him pull out a rifle and begin manipulating it. Gamboa was then confronted by these 2 men. Witnesses say Gamboa raised the weapon in a firing position and began running toward the crowd. One of the individuals fired 3 rounds, striking Gamboa and tragically striking the man who later died.
He says no one should be afraid of going to a peaceful demonstration.
Not even if you're armed with an AR-15. It's totally illegal. And I can't tell what his intent was. A man running towards a crowd with a gun. I mean, you can't just go shoot people. Look, it's terrifying too to say, you got to wait for the mass shooting to start before you can stop it. No, but maybe you didn't need to start shooting right off the hop. I don't know. I don't want to judge. I don't want to be that guy that says, clearly This is just a Second Amendment issue here, where this guy was walking down the road with his gun lawfully, and was gunned down for it, which it kind of sounds like to me. I'm not seeing the justification. He didn't. Yeah, we'll see. I want to see video. I want more video. Just think about it. If this was 20 years ago and there wasn't video everywhere, I want to, we'll see more video from this, I suspect. But how does anyone, how do you get to the truth of the matter? I don't know. That you look in character witnesses, how good of a how good of a witness are they? How reputable are they? How good is their word? These things matter. But it's all craziness. Total freaking crazy town. Anyways.
What happened last night was sudden and alarming and not representative of our values here in Salt Lake City or in our state.
There are still a lot of questions this investigation is going to have to answer, like what was Gamboa's motivation, plans, political ideology, and more. Reporting from Salt Lake City, Kate Garner, ABC4 News.
Yeah. I wonder what CNN's talking about this morning.
First, give us a sense of exactly where
all the military assets. So this is actually a thing, yeah. How many carrier strike groups do we have in the Middle East right now? I think 2, with a 3rd on their way. That's scary. I was hoping this was going to be like the no war presidency. I really was, man. Really don't want to go have another freaking war in the Middle East. Who does? It's always suck. It's just a big sandy suck box over there. No one frickin' wants to go there. The Iranian people deserve to be free. They deserve to have their time in the sun. And the Ayatollah has really kept them under his boot for a long time. Shit's got to give. I know Israel. Hopefully Israel can just go in there, do the dirty for us, and then we can just say, "Hey, good job, everybody." But no, if we're gonna have to jump in at some point, the B2, we'll have to use our B2. We'll have to use it to crack the Nance nuclear site. We'll have to use it to get underneath the mountain. That frickin' mountain cracker bunker buster that we've got. I guess the 30,000-pound frickin' bunker buster. The only thing that can get in there is a big ass bomber, and preferably one with stealth capabilities. And what is that? Well, that's a B2. That's who's got a B2? We do.
where this conflict stands vis-a-vis the idea of trying to get rid of Iran's ability to enrich uranium and to go forward with its nuclear program.
Excellent. So the overall goal seems to be to degrade obviously the nuclear program to the point where it's no longer considered an existential threat to Israel, and to the extent they'll take care of that. There's probably about 4 or 5 days left of bombing in my estimation based on the sites that have been hit. But in addition to that, they also took out senior military and national security regime targets that were responsible for command and control for potential retaliatory strikes, as well as ballistic missile systems, because that's what they've used to fire at Israel. So,
and I think they did a really fine job, probably a better job than they even expected to do, because it seems like Israel's information control is freaking amazing. I mean, they really do have their spy tech, and their spycraft is amazing. Their info security is top notch, and for them to be able to get all of the top brass for the entire air guard, for the missile command of Iran, and the air defense command, get all these guys to go in a face-to-face meeting. I mean, why? Why? You can video stream. It should have been against the freaking rules for all of them to even meet face to face or be in the same location. Seriously, stay out of the same freaking area code. Yeah, it's a pretty big nation. Maybe you spread out your command and control resources a little bit. But yeah, who knows how long Israel had been working on that op, but they got all of the command and control for Iran to meet in a couple places where they strategically bombed the crap out of them. And it seems like they did such a good job that they're just walking in and taking out targets willy-nilly now. They're basically flying around Iran with impunity, which was kind of nobody even thought you could do that. Everyone basically thought that if you go in hot into Iran airspace, and it's going to be AA and and everything pointed at you from go. As soon as you cross the border, you're going to be lighting up anti-aircraft at radars all over the place. But it's just not the case. It's just not the case now. It seems like they snuck in, did some strategic, shit, and dropped the bomb on them, and now they're left holding the frickin' bag. It's like their whole defense is just shit the bed.
So if we take a look, which was your main question, right, on in the nuclear sites here, right? So what we've seen is we've seen strikes, right? So we've seen over here at enrichment facilities here, heavy water reactor here. There's a nuclear plant here on this side for power, and then there's more facilities that are kind of scattered around the map. The big question right now is what happens to the deep buried facility at Fordow, the enrichment site?
When it comes to Fordow, in your estimation, Israel does or does not have the capability to try and make serious damage to that facility, which is heavily fortified.
Heavily fortified is an underestimation. I mean, yeah, it's underneath a mountain. It's probably, many hundred feet deep underneath this mountain. Who knows what we probably have a good idea of what the substrate of this mountain's made of. Is it granite? Is it igneous? Is it what kind of rock it is? I'm sure, metamorphic, igneous, sedimentary. They probably got a good idea of what the regional geology is like. Figure out how high you need to be before you drop a bomb. And then, drop 3 of them right in the same hole. We can do it. We can drop a bomb right on the same Coke bottle if we wanted to. Yeah. Just like, Iran, however you want to say it, they have the capability. Those missiles that they launched, they hit that hospital yesterday, whatever, that was intentional. If your phone can guide you within 3 feet to a store on the other side of the continent, you can get a many $million missile to do the same thing. Okay. Guidance systems aren't all that crazy if you've got GPS, and if they don't even have to use our GPS, they can use the Russian GPS. So,
and I mean, it's a great question, and that's the one that everybody's sort of looking at right now. There's only so many options, and when we're discussing this, by the way, we're not putting troops at risk. These are all speculated scenarios, so this is just for everybody at home, if you're wondering. That's what we're looking at here. So this is the deep buried facility. In speaking to the Iranians and having a weaponization program, they built this to withstand a conventional weapon strike. This was built under mountains, hardened concrete, and everything else, speaking to intentions, right? So what we see here is you've got main tunnel entrances on these sides, right? And then you've got the centrifuges under the mountain here, which is covering. So there's really only 2 options for the Israelis and potentially a combination. So it would be heavy.
God, it's crazy that the news has that good of satellite imagery. You know what I mean? And that they're paying for good stuff. But it makes you wonder what the government has.
Conventional bombing, which would be less than what we could do because they don't have the bunker busters, the B-2s, which we'll cover in a minute. But they would potentially be able to collapse the air shafts or the buildings. The other option, what would be called heroic means, which would be a ground raid into the facility. They've already done that previously in Syria, about 200 kilometers north of the border. They went in and successfully rendered safe in that mission. That is a very dangerous one here. As you can tell, there's only a couple entrances, and then any guns inside, that's where they're going to be pointed.
And Syria is far closer. This is a much different scenario where it's 1,000 miles away as opposed to a few hundred.
Yeah. And still, that's going to be completely defended. Just looking at it from right here, it looks like a death trap to me. And it was probably designed to be that way, but who knows? Who knows how long ago they, how good is their maintenance? How good is their infrastructure? I don't know. Just how good of a job they do at maintaining all that. Who knows? The deeper levels could be flooded out. The concrete could be rotten out. Who knows? I mean, one strike could take the whole frickin' place down. Or it could be like state-of-the-art, upgradable, updatable all the time. You know what I mean? Who knows? Who knows how well they did?
The only thing is now that after the last week or so, the Israelis have both air superiority and air dominance because they've taken out the integrated air defense systems on the ground that can shoot missiles up, and their fighter jets are not going anywhere, and those that have been hit are out of there. So they can basically fly in. Question becomes, what about reinforcements in the area? The Israelis would be able to take care of that from the air.
Which is amazing. I mean, that just blows my mind. I really am. I'm beside myself. I think half the world is beside ourselves. We're kind of taken aback by how fast the Iranian air defenses fell. Like, Israel is just flying around there with impunity. That blows me away. That's crazy. Like, the war's half over. If they've got air superiority, yeah, it's half over. I'm not saying, I mean, I'm not trying to say, it's half over, blah, blah, blah. We've got this or they've got this. But for real, if you own the skies, yeah, you can get people and you can get munitions basically wherever the F you want in a real quick hurry. And so I just don't know how Iran or how they're going to defend against this. I mean, they didn't. Everyone thought that it was going to be really hard to crack that nut, but the nut's cracked and it's wide open.
Is very much a viable opportunity, and it's the reason sort of they're waiting. What it tells me, though, is if they haven't done it yet, whatever the options are not as good as what the U.S. can bring, or else they would have done it already. They're waiting.
And why do we even have to go and crack that mountain? Why not? How about this? How about Israel just keeps going in with sortie after sortie and dropping bombs, putting munitions on frickin' target for the next frickin' month and just blow up every military checkpoint, every frickin' Humvee, every weapons cache depot, dug in, this, that, the other, all command and control structure. Wipe it out. I mean, God, it's already half gone, it seems. And seriously, see if we can't degrade their defensive positions so far from the sky that when it comes to the on the ground fighting, they give up. Then the civilian government can go take control. They can create their own government, a better, a constitutional republic that they've had in the past in the 60s, and that would be amazing. How great would that be, right? They could go in there and do it on their own without us having to do it for them. And they just need the help. Maybe drop some pallets of guns and bombs and some other cool stuff for them.
Waiting to see if we're going to get involved.
That is a very good point. And speaking of the U.S., tell us where U.S. military assets are and are going and what that means for this fight in the region.
Sure, great point. So there's permanent large bases, which you'll see sort of depicted here in red, which are U.S. only. So we've got, we've got Al Udeid in Doha, Al Dhafra. We've got major bases in Kuwait, stuff further away in Turkey and whatnot. And then you'll see the black dots that are here, and those are joint bases, particularly the ones of concern for where people have been speculating they might hit. Again, we talked about this the other night, Baghdad, Kurdistan, up here along the Kurdish-controlled areas in Syria, along the border, which is of concern. But the U.S. has flexed assets in. So we have fighter jets that originally were in the UK the other day that have now been flexed in the region into Jordan. We've got fighters across the region at different bases that are there. We have 2 aircraft carrier battle groups, one that was there, one that was brought in from the Pacific. And then very shortly, I think next week, what we're going to have is we will find ourselves with an additional carrier battle group, which will be just about here in the Western Mediterranean, and then that can flex in to give General Kurilla at CENTCOM an additional capability should he need it. So massive amount of firepower has been brought in. Air defense systems protect U.S. troops. It's clear that the president's giving a 2-week window maximum, as he said today. I don't think the Israelis can withstand these ballistic missile attacks for that long, to be honest, because they're getting through in the multiple warheads. If he does decide to pull the trigger, if the president determines that's the right policy, we have the firepower to take it out, and we have the firepower to defend U.S. troops. And the regime would be in very, very poor decision-making if they decide to attack the U.S.
The big worry, obviously, for Americans, for the American military, is retaliation. Iran says it's going to be able to retaliate in a major way if the United States joins. What would that look like? What would they strike? I mean, you've got the Strait of Hormuz there, which is extremely important to the world when it comes to what a quarter of the world's oil goes through that strait.
Right. So in terms of oil and closing off the straits, as you're mentioning, the Straits of Hormuz, right over here, and you've got the ability to control. It's sort of a strategic choke point. There's 2 shipping lanes that go through there. If they were to put littoral mines in the water, like water mines or something else, or try to close it with ships, you have to worry about, obviously, the operators with the ships, but then also the insurance companies with riders on the boat. So are they going to let the boats through? How long do you have to wait till the water's clear? There's a whole bunch of dynamics there, but it doesn't help them from a financial perspective. It just kind of causes chaos and, quite frankly, would piss off all the neighboring countries because that's...
Hey, that's the thing. All those neighboring countries that used to be the resistance front that would back up Iran, where are they? Hopes and prayers. That's what they're sending out, is hopes and frickin' prayers. That's crazy. Blows me away. They used to say that, they were going to stand strong with all these crazy, all this. So it would totally dissuade people from wanting to go in and invade Iran. I'm too old to try and learn a new way to say it. Iran. But yeah, man. Yeah. This is crazy. It's freaking nuts that we're even considering all of this, but it's happening. It's happening. It's amazing that the Saudis are just backing away. We're flying through Jordan. We're flying through Turkey. All these different countries that are basically allies to Iran, in good times, and they're just saying, well, whatever. Good luck.
It's the main, economic mainstay. But likely targets would be U.S. in Iraq and Syria potentially. And then you could theoretically hit in the region. The U.S. has pulled the ships out of our ports in Bahrain, where the fleet's based out of. We've also moved fighter jets, that was widely reported, out of non-hardened bunkers in the area to make sure that they're safe. So the Iranians have ballistic missiles. The Israelis have taken out somewhere around half to two-thirds of the launchers, which is why they're having trouble getting them off. But there's probably 1,500 to 2,000 missiles left at that point, and they could be holding some in reserve, not only for a counterstrike, but more importantly, regime survival. Because at the end of the day, that's all the authoritarians care about. They want to survive.
And there's also the proxies, although they've been very badly damaged as well, that could strike in some of these other parts of the region as well.
Certainly, that's a brilliant point. You have the Houthis down there in Yemen who are still firing missiles, though there's an agreement with the U.S. You have militias in Iraq and Syria that are the PMF, which is the umbrella group, served as the ground force to go after ISIS, which the U.S. used as part of its ground forces, provided support. Now they're quasi-integrated in the Iraqi military, which is bizarre. Hezbollah has been severely degraded. They may have some capability left. That's why your mainstay is really ballistic missile threat, some drones, and attacks on U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria. But I'm being told from contacts that if the Iranians were to make that decision, the response from the U.S. would be overwhelming. The president doesn't want regime change. He's made it clear. Nobody wants to see nation and state building. They can't have a nuclear weapon. If they decide to make that mistake, it's going to be a very big one.
Yeah. There's going to be regime change. There has to be. There's no freaking way that this is going to even pan out without. I mean, okay, Trump is saying, we don't want to kill the Ayatollah because he's keeping this card up his sleeve. Hey, this is a negotiating tool. Maybe you don't go around and kill the leader of the nation that you want the people of to take control of. You're just going to create a bunch of freaking enemies real fast. So the people of Iran need to do that. They need to find the Ayatollah. They need to take him out and probably string him up from his own petard. But it's a thing. It's definitely a thing. Hey, like, share, and subscribe. Follow for more, everybody. I hope you guys have a beautiful day. I got a lawn to mow, so I'm going to get at it.